What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Jukebox on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host this evening. Joining me, as always, is the Super Saiyan death metal god, Nick.
You're smart, but you can't imagine too much time, and you don't imagine my advice, and don't think twice. You always buy brand new.
I miss these guys too.
Yeah, we are once again talking about Slipknot. This time, we're discussing their brand new album, their 7th studio record, The End So Far, which literally signals the end of their time at Roadrunner Records. So, Nick, we've talked about the band a couple different occasions, but let's start before we dive into the record, just kind of talking about what you told me off air classifies Slipknot 2.0.
So I would say this kind of starts at 2013, actually, when we obviously knew Slipknot was working on a new record by at least 2012, and Paul had been dead for 2 years at this point. So I would say actually 2013, when Joey Jordison either quits or is fired unceremoniously from the band, and then they start to work on their next record, Point 5 The Gray Chapter, at that point. And we didn't really get into that album in our Joey Jordison retrospective last year, mostly just because we wanted to have it be focused on purely things that either Joey worked on specifically or contributed to. So I think me and Mike have a lot of fond memories about this record in particular. Personally, I think this is one of Slipknot's best records.
I would actually kind of agree with that. And this is actually one of the few Slipknot records that I actually own a physical copy of. So I hold it in a little bit higher regard.
Yeah, like one of the things that I really found to be kind of in bad faith at the time when the record came out was a lot of people were very like, oh, it's just going to be purely Corey and Jim writing the songs, and it's going to go towards more of a Stone Sour kind of sound, which, as much as I love Stone Sour, I kind of found that argument to be in completely bad faith, and we'll especially discuss this once we get further and further down the line. But one of the things that I always point out to people as to why Stone Sour, whenever they do a ballad or a more melodic song, and then Slipknot goes and does a more melodic song or a ballad, is that the bands completely do it in a completely different style. And when I say that, Stone Sour will do a ballad just as a straightforward ballad, like a big arena metal or arena hard rock ballad. But when Slipknot do it, it's always something that has something more sinister going on, where it just kind of leads in with a more forbidding tone. The biggest example off of Great Chapter is Kill Pop. I mean, everybody could point out to that song or even The Devil and I, but just the last minute of Kill Pop just explodes with blast beats and death growls. Devil and I flat out just has tremolo picking and blast beats and growling throughout the majority of the song. So I really fail to see how Slipknot are going towards more of a Stone Sour direction with this record. That and the fact that this record is just fucking ridiculously heavy. I mean, tracks like Sarcastrophe, AOV, again, despite having this really big melodic chorus, it just, thrashes your fucking face off. Skeptics, a brilliant tribute to Paul Gray. Lech has a really chaotic solo, and just the best possible intro that Corey could do is just him screaming, "I know why Judas wept, motherfucker." And then the big obvious one would be the Negative One, which, given that was the first single that people were basically introduced to this new era of Slipknot with, yeah, like I really fail to see how people don't hold this album in a higher regard now.
Seriously, like Honestly, the only slight criticism I have is, and maybe I was just not listening with the right pair of headphones, is that I just think the album could have used a little bit more bass, but like songwriting wise, musicianship, it's all there.
Yeah, exactly. And one of my things that I kind of can't help but go is that this is the best possible tribute that we could get to Paul, and there's even like subtle nods to Joey on the record. I mean, there's a reason why everybody thought, because Joey's number in the band was the number one, and they thought the -1 was written as kind of like a diss track towards him. There's like flat out lines on AOV where Corey just flat out says, I don't want to watch another brother fucking die.
In hindsight, that's a pretty dark lyric.
Which, to jump ahead to the end so far, that's kind of why I'm happy they don't dedicate an entire song to Joey the way they dedicate songs to Paul on Gray Chapter, like on Skeptic or on Goodbye. So, you know, I hold this album in pretty high regard, but I do not understand the outright backlash that this album somehow is getting in the past few years. Like, by at least 2018, it was super fucking popular to hate this thing.
And I'll never really understand why that is, except for, as you have dubbed them, the everything sucks after Iowa crowd.
Yeah, the everything after Iowa sucks crowd. I cannot stand these assholes. So for basically anybody who's newer to Slipknot, it's basically every album after Iowa by Slipknot, Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses, All Hope Is Gone, Gray Chapter, Even We Are Not Your Kind. All of those albums suck because apparently Iowa is just the heaviest death metal record on the planet, and nothing will beat its aggression or intensity. And it'll be stupid edgelords with thumbnails of my worst movie of all time that I will not be saying on air, so that way nobody ends up looking it up.
Every fandom has their vocal minority of just absolute scum of the earth. And it seems like even Slipknot fans can't avoid this toxic cesspool.
I think there are just way too many people who perpetually live on the internet. But at the same time, this narrative really didn't start until, I want to say, at least 2018. And it was not helped by Corey's comments about the next album at the time, with him going like, this next album is going to be Iowa levels of heavy. That was him talking about this record in interviews. So this is where we're not jumping into We Are Not Your Kind just yet, because All Out Life gets released as a single on Halloween, which that's the most appropriate time to release a new Slipknot track, I personally feel. But
oh, totally.
Mike, how about you take the reins on All Out Life? Because all I can say is it's super fucking heavy. There's nothing but blast beats and trem picking. Corey sounds great on this. The lyrics are awesome. It's great.
I mean, yeah, I was about to say the same thing. And, you know, this was released as a standalone single. So this was even before the album was announced. Like, I remember getting super excited when I heard that for the first time. Like, oh my God, like a new Slipknot record. We haven't had one of those since the Gray Chapter. And it's going to be super heavy too. Wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, like this is the perfect way to lead into a new album. And I don't understand. Actually, you know what? I take it back. I do kind of understand to a degree, because there was a lot of rumors at when this song got released that Slipknot were finally going to do that long rumored double album. And I was totally thinking that, okay, disc 1 might just be like the super heavy side of things with nothing but blast beats, trem picking, death growled vocals, you know, a lot of edgy lyrics. I thought that was going to be the case, and then disc 2 ends up being the more melodic side of things, where it has more ballads, it has a lot more melodic, clean choruses, which I totally would have been on board with.
Oh, same.
Okay. now we get to the tough side of things. And I just wanted to be on the record too that I listened to all three of these albums in release order before we started recording to kind of acclimatize myself to this point again. So I have gone on record many times saying I do not like We're Not Your Kind. And I really stand by that statement. I honestly will even go as far as to say this. I think this is Slipknot's worst record.
I think that's fair, but at the same time, at least we can take pride in knowing that the band will never go as low as, like, say, Megadeth's Super Collider or Eminem's Encore.
Or Korn's Path of Totality, or Morbid Angel's Elude Divinium Insanus, or Queensryche's Dedicated to Chaos. Like, don't get me wrong. When I say I don't like this record, I'm not just acting like it's an abomination. No, it's just, given that I know what Slipknot are capable of doing musically, and given that I know what Slipknot are great at, this misses the mark so much for me that I just kind of go, Corey really should not have been hyping this up in the press as like the next Iowa, because I don't think this record benefited from comments like that.
And I think that's more than fair. When the creators of any sort of project, be it a filmmaker or a musician, hypes up their work like to this extent, you're setting yourself up to fail, because the audience expects you to pretty much put your money where your mouth is. And when you don't deliver, that's when the backlash starts.
Which in this case, it wasn't even backlash that wound up happening. This ended up being like the best reviewed album of their catalog, which I do not understand this. And I'm going to, I told you to remind me of this, but this comment was so unbelievably fucking idiotic from somebody I, at least generally have some respect for. Mike, allow me to quote Anthony Fantano's review of this album. And he kicks off the review of this record with this exact sentence, talking about Point 5, the Gray Chapter. A record quickly dismissed as the band's worst batch of songs ever written, yet proceeds to give this album basically a 6 to a 7 out of 10.
You guys can't see this, but my brain just kind of left my body hearing that quote.
I'm just screaming fuck internally, because like the reason I'm saying all of this, and we haven't really talked about the songs on We Are Not Your Kind yet, these songs are fucking tame. Like, really, these songs are not super like Slipknot's earlier records aren't like super complicated. Like, they're not Dream Theater or Meshuggah, but these songs return to a more simpler riff structure than, say, Volume 3 or All Hope Is Gone, or even Gray Chapter for that instance. Like, Unsainted even mutes Jay Weinberg's drum section, like that one blast beat section, the only blast beat section on this entire fucking record. It literally just mutes his kick drum so much, and the riffs are just not like super crazy or all over the fretboard.
Yeah, that's at least one of the biggest issues with this record, is just like, what the hell were they thinking? The way they mix like the drums and all of the instruments, really.
Yeah, and I've gone on record saying this as well to a lot of people, that I really hate the song Nero Forte. Breakup lyrics belong on a Stone Sour album. I get Corey was going through a divorce at the time of making this record, but Corey, homie, my buddy, my guy, I love you. I've met you twice and you've been insanely cool to me and people I've met you with. But dude, like, Nas did the whole start a sentence with one phrase of the sentence and have that kind of be what it leads into the next section of the song. Like on Ether, he goes, I fuck with your soul like ether, will teach you the king you know you not, God sunk across the belly, lose I prove you lost already. They do that on Nero Forte, but with the whiniest fucking breakup lyrics possible. And really a lot of what kills this album for me is just the way it can't commit to either a really heavy section like on Iowa without just jumping into this fluffy melodic chorus. Like the biggest examples I can think of are Critical Darling, Orphan, yet these were the best reviewed songs on the fucking record. And I really like Neuroforte, Critical Darling, and Orphan are probably three of my least revisited Slipknot songs because I genuinely do not like listening to them.
In general, this album is one that I have rarely gone back to revisit.
Yeah.
Once in a while, Unsainted will be in circulation, depending on what playlist I'm listening to, but that's about it.
Yeah. In terms of like other songs on the record, A Liar's Funeral is just basically Snuff Part 2 without the really genuine and heartfelt vocal delivery. Not saying that this isn't coming from a genuine place necessarily. It just feels like it's just trying to be Snuff again without understanding why the dynamics of that song worked. Really, the only song I genuinely like on this thing is Solway Firth, and that's because it reminds me more of melodic death metal.
And the fact that that's a closer too it's genuinely a great song.
Oh yeah, and considering I've seen Slipknot live this past year, yeah, it fucking tears the house down hearing it live. So I mean, I know I'm talking about it pretty aggressively and intensely. Like, it's not the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, I've heard an Attila album before, so I mean, you can tell that I've listened to some garbage in my lifetime, but to me, this really is Slipknot's lowest point, in my opinion, and I genuinely do not understand the critical acclaim that it got back in 2019. And we were even saying this before we started recording. This isn't even like a Death Heaven, Sunbather, or even a Power Trips, Nightmare Logic situation where, you know, the hipster magazines decide to pick the one token metal album that gets all the critical praise.
Slipknot could not be more mainstream, but this album is still kind of treated as
the absolute exception to not dunk on new metal.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I've been on record saying Slipknot's not new metal, but I mean, considering that a lot of people still do to this day, like, again, it's not the worst thing I've ever heard, but is it what Wikipedia, I know Wikipedia is maybe not the best source to cite, but I'm going to quote what's on the front paragraph, how critics have highlighted it as, quote, a landmark release in the heavy metal genre. You're seriously going to try and tell me this is better than Sturm und Drang by Lamb of God or Koloss by Meshuggah? Really?
Yeah, that's going to be a no for me, dog.
That is the best time to quote that. So needless to say, just with that entire diatribe about the last two records aside, I'm not gonna lie, when I heard the Chapeltown Rag, I was nervous this was just gonna be a repeat of how We Are Not Your Kind went, just by releasing the heaviest possible song as a single and then having the album eventually come out later.
You were getting a Boy Who Cried Wolf thing going on, weren't you?
Yeah, that's the most apt phrase I can really come up with. It was totally a Boy Cried Wolf situation, but at least this time, to Corey's credit, he at least is leading people in easier with this album by saying that this was basically going to be a heavier version of Volume 3, as if that's not already possible, considering Volume 3 is a heavier record than it's given credit. But it honestly wasn't until single 2 that I was feeling more comfortable saying I was looking forward to this album.
I actually kind of agree with that, because the thing is, the closer you release like a single to the actual release of the album, that's, at least for me, when I start to breathe that sigh of relief.
Yeah. So with all of that said, I actually forgot to even talk to you about this before we started recording. I feel like we should start a Slipknot review by talking about their appearance because, yeah, what's a Slipknot album review without talking about their masks? I know it's not part of the music, but technically it kind of is. So, how about we start there?
Yeah, part of the package of Slipknot is their signature masks, which is very much a cornerstone of their whole thing.
Yeah, some people would argue that it is pretty gimmicky, but personally, I always just thought that was just something that just was cool that came along with the music. And also, I feel like it's notable that this is going to be the first album to feature Clown's bandmate from Dirty Little Rabbits, Michael Pfaff, on percussion this time because Chris Fane does not play percussion on this record. I personally really like the masks more this time around, even if some of them do just kind of feel just like either We're Not Your Kind done again, more specifically for Jim and Mick. But honestly, I think the two standouts for me this time are probably going to be Corey and Jay Weinberg's.
Corey usually has the best mask out of anyone, which is fitting because he's like front and center, but still.
Personally, I totally get a David Lynch from Nightbreed vibe from his mask this time around. Like, it totally looks like something from that movie. So, just immediately appealing to the inner horror fan in me, excuse me. But considering that the last album was hyping up also so much that Tom Savini of Dawn of the Dead and the original Friday the 13th and part 4 of the final chapter fame, considering that they were hyping up so much that he was doing Corey's mask on that album and it just kind of looked like an overly bloated milk jug just turned into a mask, this one looks a lot cooler this time.
Are they like always this consistent with changing the masks like for each record?
With this one, I'm just noticing that Alex, the bass player's, his mask, it's basically pretty much the same as We Are Not Your Kinds. Like, it's not too far off. Maybe it's just like a more subtle shade of red. Craig just gets another extra spike. But also Michael Pfaff's masks, he's totally embraced the idea of him being Tortilla Man and just kind of made him kind of made himself more kind of like the jester. I like his outfit more than his mask looks pretty cool too, but I mean his outfit totally goes along with the mask.
I like just the idea of Tortilla Man. These guys may be playing like aggressive music, but at least you can't say they don't have a sense of humor.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of production this time around, we might as well at least touch on a little bit more of the music side of things. So in this case, it's not Greg Fiddleman producing this time, like on Gray Chapter and We Are Not Your Kind. This time, it's the guy who mixed both of those albums. It's Joe Barresi. And Mike, cool if I go over who he's produced for in the past?
Go for it, because these are some pretty big names.
Avenged Sevenfold's album, The Stage, Pallbearer, Heartless, Coheed and Cambria, Year of the Black Rainbow, Parkway Drive, Deep Blue, Queens of the Stone Ages, Lullabies to Paralyze, and self-titled. And I admittedly haven't heard this album, Transformed by Power Man 5000, because it's an excuse to say, go listen to Tonight the Stars Revolt. Seriously, it's awesome.
Yeah, some of these records that he's produced are some of my favorites. He's even done a couple great Bad Religion records like The Descent of Man, True North,
Land of the Free by Pennywise. I'm seeing we're totally just going through his Wikipedia page, guys, to be honest. So, and also, I feel like we should stress this. The reason why we're reviewing the album this early is that it leaked earlier, like at least a good week and a half ago. So that's why we're bringing you an album review the day of release at this point.
Yeah, and normally I wouldn't publicly disclose that we are pirating any sort of media, but given all of the shit that's going on at Warner Brothers Discovery right now. I feel no shame.
Yeah, and me, I pre-ordered the album on CD, vinyl, and cassette, so it's not like I'm not going to be buying the record to begin with. So how about this? We hop right into the album, Mike.
And we start on a very interesting note. The first track, Adderall, I can only assume was Clown's idea because, Slipknot's had some unconventional intros in the past, but like this barely even sounds like Slipknot.
Oh, yeah. Like I was thinking of making some kind of an argument that it's kind of like Prelude 3.0, but at least that title alone sounds like it's an intro. And we were even talking about this like a couple weeks ago. I totally thought that they were just gonna pull a Slayer and just have like some ambient kind of sinister vibe start out the song and then just launch into a straight up barn burner. But I'm totally gonna be honest. When I first heard this, I was like, what the fuck am I listening to?
It sounds more like Corey guesting on like a Ghost track than anything else.
That feels weirdly appropriate to say. I like that analogy. And when I heard this, I totally just went, what the fuck? I'm not even saying that in a bad way. It's just like I'm just kind of going, this is a near 6-minute intro and it's not popping off. But like the more I've had the chance to live with the album, I'm subtly noticing more nuances to the song. Like I'm even noticing like my left headphone, I'm noticing Jim just like totally doing some guitar solo off in the background. And I'm just going like, okay, I'm slowly finding more things to like about this track.
By the way, this is one of those albums that it is imperative that you listen to this on multiple speakers and or headphones.
Yeah, and we'll probably wind up saying a lot of this throughout the next hour, but I genuinely do believe that this album basically learned a lot of the lessons from We Are Not Your Kind, because one thing, and to Fantano's credit, he did give shit to, was the abundance of intros and interludes for songs. Like that is completely gone on this record, which I only wish that Fantano would have given more shit to Death because of Death and Nero Forte, but I know Nero Forte is not an interlude, but I hate that song, so I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. So Adderall, though, it's kind of grown on me, though.
Same.
It's really not conventional, but at the same time, I kind of can't help but go, maybe this is something more sinister going on in the mix that I just haven't caught upon the first couple of listens. So I'm just kind of going like, okay, maybe this is supposed to just, give you that false sense of security before Corey starts screaming, die, 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 die.
Might as well go right
for the next song.
Yeah, might as well jump right into the dying song, Time to Sing.
I honestly just call it the dying song personally, but I get it's part of the chorus, but at the same time, I'd like, just call it the dying song. Just trim a little bit of the fat. But I think this is the anti-Unsainted personally. One of the things that I really love about this record as a whole is it goes back to that idea that Slipknot have always had of weird transitions between tracks and just having like weird samples kind of segue into the next song. And that returns in full fucking force on this record. Because like immediately after Adderall has that weird like piano kind of, then you hear Corey's vocals kick in, and it's very layered vocals. It's very much supposed to be the anthemic chorus side of things, but then it's just like, we lured you into a false sense of security with a nice catchy hook. Let's start mauling your face off.
Yeah. So if you like the heavier side of Slipknot, this album has you covered. And
yeah,
and this song in particular just wastes zero time.
Oh, the fact that it's only just about like 3 minutes and 20 seconds, but doesn't have a second of filler on it, really. And really, the one thing that I couldn't help but notice just was like the death metal influence is finally coming back. Like, it's not like a huge blast beat section, but we at least get to hear Jay Weinberg do a blast beat on a song, while it's, again, not the most tastiest lick Jim has ever laid down to a recording. But I mean, the fact that it has Jim doing a guitar solo and Jay Weinberg doing a blast beat on the song, I'm just like, okay, this is winning me back. Okay, this is great.
Yeah, I have in my notes, like, the heavy is back. Like, you got the blast beats. You get to hear the double kick, which was all but absent in We Are Not Your Kind. But
or just flat out muted.
yeah, but here, like, actually getting to hear it like in full, it's just so satisfying.
Honestly, my favorite part of the song is probably the part where this is the part of the song where Corey gets to shine. The maybe you've been down too long bit, where it just has that one guitar slide bit. I'm like, I live for parts of that in Slipknot songs. And then it just launches right back into the chorus. And again, this doesn't feel whiny the way it did on We Are Not Your Kind.
It sounds just stronger.
Yeah, exactly. I genuinely believe, like, yes, this song is designed for arenas, but it doesn't forget that it's a proper metal song.
We already started talking about the song already, but we'll get deeper into it. The Chapeltown Rag, my general thoughts are basically similar to the Dying song in that really I'm just happy to hear the heavier side of the band again, and like for real this time.
Oh, this time there's full-blown blast beat sections. Like, when this song came out in November of last year, again, that's what scared me about the lead up to this record, was just that, okay, We Are Not Your Kind did a similar thing where it releases a super heavy song first. Is this even going to be on the album? So like, the fact that it's actually here, but I actually noticed this, I don't know if you did, Mike, but they threw in a few more guitar layers into this mix instead of the version they released to radio last year.
Huh. I didn't really notice like the extra layers at first, but you do start to pick up on it a little bit more, like the more times you listen to it.
Yeah, it is a bit of a weird, more unconventional chorus, but I mean, Slipknot have always had like a little bit more of a, like, even on like Wait and Bleed, having that entire chorus be like the main hook of the song across 2 minutes and having it repeat so much. Here, I kind of can't help but go, okay, this is kind of more of like a self-titled track, but with extra blast beats. And I'm not going to complain too much about that.
Me neither.
Yeah, and Corey sounds great on this. Jim and Mick sound great on this. They get to show off a lot more on this record, and we'll talk about those tracks in a minute. But yeah, and don't get us twisted either. Like, this is not a front-loaded record, considering the next track, Yen, is also a single. But I don't know, Chapeltown Rag, the fact that I've lived with it for a year and now I can hear it in the sequence of a proper studio album, I'm starting to like it more and more the more times I hear it.
Same. And just to reiterate Nick's point, yes, they front loaded the album with singles, but do not mistake that for meaning the album is front loaded. Because really, in my opinion, when a record label picks out singles, they honestly feel kind of arbitrary, especially on what I'm going to call a genuine unskippable record.
Oh, yeah. Again, there's not one bit of filler on this thing, and we'll be saying that a lot. So the next track, Yen, this is where the Volume 3 comparisons really come into play. So this, for me, kind of gives me a lot of Vermilion vibes, but it also does kind of take me back to a little bit of self-titled too, mostly on songs like Prosthetics.
Oh yeah, I can hear a little bit of that, but yeah, I definitely got Vermilion vibes from just the overall vibe of this song. It's like definitely dark and eerie in the background, but it still gets heavy in the parts that it needs to.
Yeah, it's kind of I actually thought of this the other day, re-listening to the song. It's kind of a typo negative song by way of Slipknot.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, because like it's totally got the gothier elements to it, but at the same time, it doesn't forget that this is a Slipknot song. Like even just full blown launching into a section where Sid actually gets to show off, which on We Are Not Your Kind there were little bits of, but not to like this degree again. And that's one of the things that I kind of couldn't help but go with the whole everything after Iowa sucks crowd for, was just that you guys do remember that not every song is just disaster piece or sick, right? I mean, like Self-Titled flat out has songs like, again, Wait and Bleed, songs like Prosthetics, Deluded, No Life. Iowa has songs like My Plague and Left Behind and even The Shape. So I just kind of can't help but go, melody does not equate Stone Sour.
Yeah.
And like considering that this is basically just the anti-Vermilion, that it's a love song about Corey's current wife, Alicia, it kind of makes sense when you get down to it.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Do you want to jump into the next track though? Because I think this might be my favorite song on the record.
It's certainly one of mine too, Hive Mind. And honestly, all I have in my notes for this are heavy as shit.
Blast beats, the death metal influence has finally returned to Slipknot, and it's appropriately used, and it's aggressive, and literally the lyrics are just about how great it is to perform live.
I genuinely hope they release this as a fourth single, or they just put out a live video of them performing the song.
Kind of like the way they did for Custer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like this, honestly, with the first time I heard it, I was like, okay, weird sound effects. Okay, this is cool. Let's see where it goes. Then holy shit, Jay's just blasting away on his kit. And then you just launch into these chaotic riffs, and it's like, okay, the heavy parts are back. Yeah. The boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, like the proper Slipknot thrasher is I like to call it. It's finally back. Like this is kind of what I have been wanting since Gray Chapter on a new Slipknot record, is just kind of that drum sound and that drum beat that they always would do on every record.
And Jay is honestly really good at keeping that beat going.
Yeah, and you know, as great as it would be to have Joey on other Slipknot records, you know, pre-2021 before his passing, you know, if we absolutely had to have him out of the band, I can't complain with Jay being in the band at this rate. And again, just the fact that this has more energy, and just as soon as it drops into that final riff, oh my god.
Yeah, that is tasty riffing.
That is one sexy ass groove, and I love every second of it. It totally reminds me of that last groove on Sulfur.
Ooh.
Yeah, it immediately just took me back to that, and I just couldn't help but go, yeah, the band I love is back. And even doing a full letting Jim solo. Oh my god. This was one of the arguments. I actually got into a pretty big argument from somebody I'm not friends with anymore, who just said I was a Corey Taylor fanboy for getting excited for a new Slipknot record back when We Are Not Your Kind was just getting announced. Honestly, my favorite member has always probably been Jim Root, and just like his ability to just shred all over the fretboard and just do unconventional solos. And that was one of the things that I really missed about We Are Not Your Kind, was that he didn't get to go crazy all over the fretboard. And considering that he wasn't on the last Stone Sour record, I'm not gonna lie, guys, I was totally aching for one of his solos again. So just to hear him shred again is is brilliant.
Yeah, his presence on this record, it is very much welcomed.
Yeah, and don't get us wrong, Mick also gets to solo on other tracks on this record too, but yeah, the Hive Mind is totally the Jim and Corey show, and I love every second of it. And Jay too. Jay's brilliant on this. Just go listen to Hive Mind. It's add it to your Slipknot Jim mix. That's what I'm gonna say.
The next track, Warranty, is another one where I have in my notes, eat your hearts out, Iowa hipsters.
Oh my God, this is just an arena size chorus, but at the same time, it's just hooky and aggressive. I know I did the whole growled intro for this episode, but at the same time, I just am like, I cannot stop singing along to this. I hope they release this one as a single.
Like I said, any one of these tracks could have been a single. The ones they chose are honestly just arbitrary.
Yeah, and for me, Warranty, one of the really great things is just the riffing, but at the same time, Corey's vocals, they sound great here. And again, they're not just whiny, complainy for the sake of being whiny and complainy. But for me, what really lands this is the lyrics, because basically what this song is about, and before I lead into what it's about, I was actually going to say this before we started talking about these songs. If you guys just want Iowa again, don't listen to this album. You're not going to like it. It's not going to be for you. It's going to be too melodic. You probably knew that already going into it, and you're just going to hate it anyway. So I'm just going to save you your 57 minutes. Don't listen to it. You won't like it. Just go listen to Archspire or Vulvodynia if you want, super brutal technical death metal.
Basically.
So I say all of that because Corey even said in an interview with Metal Hammer that basically this is a tongue-in-cheek look at what people expect from Slipknot. So I'm going to totally take that as this is basically one big middle finger to the everything after Iowa sucks crowd.
You know what this is? This is like a better version of what All That Remains tried to do on, I forget exactly the track it was, but on The Order of Things.
Oh, that garbage song, True Cult Metal.
Yeah.
I would actually just say instead, this is just a proper Slipknot barn burner. Like, it's super heavy. It's even got a pretty melodic section in the middle where Jay gets to show off some of his drum fills that he's capable of. And again, a lot of double kick. It's fast paced. The grooves are killer. Again, this is exactly what I want out of a Slipknot record. And for me, this and the next song, these three are probably my favorites off of the record.
So the next one is Medicine for the Dead,
which Jay Weinberg was actually hyping up in the press as the heaviest blues song ever written.
Accurate.
I have no idea if this was the song he was actually referring to, but like I totally got that vibe just from the riffing alone, from the kind of Van Halen-y kind of bum bum bam bam section. Yeah, heaviest blues song ever written, and it's basically about drug addiction.
Yeah, I get that sort of vibe, even in the title.
Again, pulling up the Metal Hammer interview with Corey, just kind of breaking down the lyrics, that it's basically about anyone who deals with depression, and it's the feeling that you get when the numbness comes in to play, and just addiction, I guess. So Medicine for the Dead feels like the most apt possible title. But no, again, this is what I want out of a Slipknot record, but at the same time, it at least has the balls to experiment a bit and not push it too far the way We Are Not Your Kind did, where it's bitter breakup songs on top of a heavy riff and then just a big melodic chorus.
Yeah, I said this to you off air, but it's like this album is kind of the perfect example of how much range the band has, that they can obviously like melt your face off with something like Hive Mind or Warranty, but then you get tracks like Medicine of the Dead and the next one, Acidic, which take things down. It's a little bit more down tempo, but it can still be heavy in the right moments.
So I have to issue a correction to myself. So apparently Acidic was actually the blues song that Jay was talking about. I'm just going through Genius right now at the moment. So I have to issue a correction. Medicine for the Dead is not the blues song, even though I can totally picture it being the heaviest blues song ever written.
I'm glad you said that, because now kind of like playing Acidic in my head, and yeah, I hear a lot more blues influence on this track. But again, the same sort of positives that I said about Medicine for the Dead could be applied to Acidic as well. These would be like the, and I use this term loosely, lightest tracks on the record, but they still have the Slipknot timbre in them.
They still have some sort of edge to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that I also really love is that Jim and Mick both get to do guitar solos on this track. Again, one of the things that I really couldn't stand about We Are Not Your Kind is just that it really did kind of feel like, the way I describe Slipknot to a lot of people is that the self-titled feels more like a band effort. Iowa feels more like a Mick, Joey, and Paul effort. Volume 3 feels more like a Corey, Jim, Joey, and Paul effort. And then All Hope Is Gone can be the Joey effort, because Joey basically laid down his tracks and wrote most of the music and then just kind of collaborated with the other members of the band. And then Gray Chapter obviously is Corey and Jim and Clown. So with this one, with these songs as a whole, I'll say it's really every member of the band gets to show off on each individual track. Like even on some of the later songs on the record, like you can hear subtle scratches from Sid, and it's not like any of the members are competing for your attention.
Yeah, these tracks leave plenty of room for everyone to have a moment, which is really nice.
Yeah, exactly. And again, just the fact that the lyrics feel a lot more open to interpretation this time around, I feel is also a positive. That's something that I, again, couldn't help but gripe about the last album a lot. But now, Acidic and Medicine for the Dead, they kind of are the best yin and yang with each other.
Yeah.
Heirloom, probably the most melodic song that we've gotten so far.
At least one of them. I love the way this song starts. Like Jay just kind of like doing his thing, grooving in the intro. It's just great.
Yeah, I might have to live with it a little bit more, to be honest. But I mean, considering I've listened to this album at least 4 or 5 times in the past week, not just in preparation for recording this, but just, just for my own leisure, I think I'd have to live with it a little bit more. But I mean, I do like it enough to where I want to hear it again. Not in kind of a, because that I know I keep harping about how much I didn't like We Are Not Your Kind, but that was really the first Slipknot record I kind of just went, I might need to live with this some more. And then after a couple more listens, I just had absolutely zero desire to ever hear it in full again.
And this is why it's important to give things multiple spins to really kind of solidify your overall thoughts.
Oh yeah, that's why we took at least a good week to talk about the newest Machine Head record, was just because we just didn't want to come off as fanboys either. So next track though, H377. So I think that's just supposed to be Hell.
Yeah, it looks like that's supposed to be what it's saying.
Yeah, and in this case, this one's more just about internet trolls, which that's one theme reoccurring throughout a good chunk of this record. I notice is that it has a lot to do with the internet day and age that we live in, which, considering that we're just, COVID's still going on, but at the same time, we're just kind of moving past that era. And just given how tumultuous that time period was, it's been something that's come up on Slipknot records before, and even Stone Sour to some extent. But, in this case, it's never been more as aggressive as it's been on this track.
Yeah, there's a lot I could say about how the internet has been like one of the catalysts of like the decline of civilization, but I think the lyrics on this track sort of have enough to say on the matter.
Yeah, and to kind of get back more on the music side of things, there's at least a lot more death metal influence going on this. Like, you even get to hear Mick and Jim do some like cool twin guitar trade off of them just, plucking away at the strings, but just kind of tapping as they're plucking, kind of like on a proper death metal record. So yeah, it's just another really heavy tune that I can get behind, and at least the lyrical content, something I can dig as well too. So yeah, throw that into the mix. I'm gonna let you take the reins on this next one. I do like Decide, but again, it's another one of those ones that I'm probably gonna have to live with a little bit more.
Decide is one of my favorite tracks, and mostly it's because of Corey really getting to show off his range as like a clean vocalist. Like, I think this might be like some of the best singing that he's done, but still kind of in that like raspy, energetic sort of style.
Yeah, and I know I've said this before, but again, it can't help be stressed. Slipknot doing a cleaner, more melodic song does not equate they're just doing a Stone Sour song on a Slipknot record. I kind of can't help but go, like, even a song like RU486 off of House of the Golden Bones Part 1, and even on Part 2, a song like Gravesend or Stalemate, those could easily go to toe with any Slipknot song.
Oh yeah, like it really does annoy me when the everything after iOS sucks crowd assumes that all Stone Sour sounds like Bother or Looking Through Glass.
Yeah, like, I genuinely believe that these are the deathcore kids that never have even heard a Stone Sour record in their life.
Yeah, I have to assume that that's the case, or else I don't even know what they're thinking.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to know, to be frank. So I kind of feel like this is the perfect time to bring up our closing track, Finale. This is the best possible way you could end this record, if I'm being honest.
It's almost like the definitive end to the Roadrunner era.
Well, considering realistically Slipknot's probably going to continue after this album, yeah, I'd assume that's pretty fair to say. I mean, I think that one of the things that this record benefits from is that it knows when to emphasize the melodic parts of songs, but not have that over dominate the heaviness at the same time. It kind of just lets the heavier songs be heavy, but it lets the melodic songs be melodic. And with this track, I really feel like this feels as if it's the best possible conclusion to a Slipknot record. It kind of feels like if Rain Is What You Want closed out Gray Chapter, where that song just felt like a bleak conclusion to the past 3 or 4 years the band had just experienced, whereas this, it kind of just feels like them looking back and just going like, look at all the amazing music that we made just from 1999 up to this point.
Yeah, it's like a celebration almost, like the 20 plus year career they've had.
Yeah.
Probably even 30 by this point, more or less.
I was gonna bring this up when we were talking about Yen, especially for the chorus side of things, but I kind of said this when we were doing our podcast after Joey Jordison passed. Last year, my best friend, he checked out. He committed suicide. And one of the things that we bonded over the most was Slipknot. And that was right as Great Chapter was just coming out and -1 was released as a single. And we were talking about that a lot. Honestly, the entire time listening to this, I couldn't help but feel the urge to want to text him to go like, dude, you're going to fucking love this record.
Man,
Yeah, because like for me, this just kind of feels like a proper combination of every element Slipknot has and does well, just kind of thrown into a blender without any of the bells and whistles, without any intros or interludes. Again, it really is just all killer and no filler front to back. It is an experience worth going through the entire 57 minutes to do so. And it's kind of shocking that I have to say a Slipknot record is only 57 minutes and not an hour in length.
yeah. Is this really the shortest Slipknot record?
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up on Wikipedia right now. It is.
It's bizarre, but at the same time, I don't know what I could possibly add or take out of the record. It's as close to perfect can get for the band.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is a phenomenal return to form for Slipknot. I think it's too soon to rank it amongst the rest of their albums, but for me, I would kind of say it's about on par with Great Chapter for me at this point.
Yeah, I'm gonna vaguely say that this is like in the upper half of their discography. That leaves enough room to place it wherever it needs to go after more listens. But now I'm going to do the difficult part of these reviews, picking favorites.
I already have mine. I've already said Hive Mind Warranty, and I'm probably going to throw Medicine for the Dead in there. So I'm going to let you take the lead on this one. The stage is yours.
All right. You know what? This time for honorable mentions, I will give a shout out to one of the singles. Yen out of the 3 singles might be like a low-key favorite of mine, even though, like I said, all of these are great. But my top 3, in not necessarily a particular order, would be Acidic, H377, and Desaad.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, I'd probably have to live with it some more, but I feel like I'll be spending a lot of time revisiting this album quite a bit. I rather had a great time listening to it. I enjoyed it. Again, I think it's one of Slipknot's best records in years, so I can't recommend it highly enough. I guess to kind of bookend my thoughts on it, if you really liked stuff like Great Chapter and just Slipknot's previous 4 albums with Joey and Paul in the mix, you're going to really love this thing. If you just want Iowa again for the 80th time, just go listen to the newest Cattle Decapitation record. You're not going to like anything Slipknot does going forward anyway, so just, go listen to any band that plays Summer Slaughter every year.
Yeah, my final thoughts are, if you were a really big fan of Volume 3, if that was your jumping on point, then you will definitely enjoy this record. Go back and enjoy all of their previous albums too. It's a pretty perfect encapsulation of everything the band is capable of.
Yeah, exactly. And this isn't even necessarily related to Slipknot per se, but just for fuck's sakes, man, the past few months have just been killer for all of the new records. Like, my wallet is kind of killing me at the moment.
It's easy to say this about any year, but this year especially has given us so many killer records.
Just to name a few: the new Amon Amarth, Soulfly, Wormrot, Arch Enemy, Halo Effect, Witchery, Psychroptic, Soilwork, RIP David Anderson. You are sorely missed, and you went out on a high note, sir, with the newest Soilwork record. New Machine Head, new Megadeth was really awesome as well, surprisingly. New Revocation is absolutely savage, I must say. Ozzy's newest record, Patient Number 9, was really killer. The newest Undeath record It's Time to Rise from the Grave is probably my favorite death metal record of the year. And the new Behemoth album is stellar, obviously, because it's Behemoth. I mean, Mike kind of put it best. We've been spoiled this year.
And we're not even done.
Oh, God, no. We'll probably be back talking about the new Lamb of God record.
Oh, absolutely. And coming up that same month, there's a new Queensryche, Alter Bridge, Pawns and King, Lorna Shore's Pain Remains. There is so much coming in the next couple months. I'm looking forward to this year ending on a high note. But until then, Nick, where can everyone find you online?
Super Saiyan Death Metal God on Instagram, where I post largely album covers lately. I haven't done a lot of video games or movies lately, but I am watching stuff and I do tend to post it. And yeah, just come shoot me a follow and some binge likes if you don't mind, please. As well, I mod for Catherine Isabel, the Canadian horror queen herself, who has been in many classics like Ginger Snaps, American Mary, and as well TV shows like Hannibal and The Order. She's not streaming at the moment, but whenever she comes back, come say hi in the chat. We'll give you some subs.
Awesome. And you guys can find me on Twitter at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser, on the Banana Meter. Listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Jukebox. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.